So whether that's, if you want to go above the set budget and you want to throw in a little bit more, or you're getting like side stones or a specific setting, or you're just contributing equally to that budget, every couple is different and there's no like right or wrong answer. But that is my number one tip.
Loverly presents the Wedding Podcast, a show for those on the road to I Do. From relationship advice to wedding planning tips, we break it down. I'm your host, Kelly Khalil, bride-to-be and the founder of Loverly, a DIY wedding planning platform. Over the years, we've helped tens of thousands of couples get down the aisle. And now that it's my turn, I'm not holding back. I'm bringing in my besties, wedding pros, and some brides-to-be you may know to talk through everything from picking the perfect venue to mastering your relationship. It's time to plan smarter so you can focus on the happily ever after. You've got the ring, we've got the rest. And we're back. This week, we're sitting down with Olivia Landau, who is the founder and CEO of Carat. Olivia is a fourth-generation jeweler who was named Forbes 30 Under 30 and is a Techstars alum. She got married to her husband and co-founder Kyle in the Tuscan countryside in June of 2019. Olivia shares a bit about her family roots in diamonds and how diamonds have played a big part in her relationship and even meeting her husband. We actually get into the technical details of what to consider when you're looking to buy an engagement ring, which of the 4 C's is the most important, and some of Olivia's favorite diamond trends that she's most excited about. Olivia is knowledgeable and spills the tea, so let's get into it. On today's podcast, we have Olivia Landau, the founder and CEO of The Clear Cut. And Olivia, you and I met, maybe 10 years ago, I feel like.
Yes, a long, long time ago.
Way back when, I think you maybe were just joining Techstars and we ran into each other in the New York tech scene. And anytime when I was out talking to investors or doing anything in the tech space, like, oh, do you know Olivia? I mean, it was kind of like, I feel like it went back and forth. Everyone kept trying to introduce us and connect us.
Yes. I think that last time I saw you was probably 2018, and that's when we had just joined Techstars. And I think we were introduced by 5 different people.
Yeah. They kept being like, you're both in weddings, you should connect.
Yes.
Amazing. Well, coming full circle, it's been a while since we've connected, so I'm excited to hear all about the progress with the Clear Cut. But for those who don't know anything about you, I'd love to kind of get the background, where you're from, and of course how you came to start your business.
Yeah, definitely. It happened very organically. I come from a diamond family, in a sense where my dad's side of the family were all diamond cutters and dealers by trade, and then my mom and my dad had their own antique jewelry business. So I grew up around the space, not exactly what I'm doing now. But I never thought I would get into it myself. I was always told that it was a dying industry, that there was no future. So I never had the intention of going into the jewelry space until after I graduated college. I graduated at NYU, and I really didn't know exactly what I wanted to do for a career. So I wanted to extend schooling a bit more and convince my parents to let me to go to GIA, which is the Gemological Institute of America, here in New York, to get my graduate gemologist degree, which would be a 6-month program while I figured things out. While I was at GIA, I really fell in love with diamonds, gemstones. It was in my blood all along. I was also really lucky to meet my now husband and co-founder while we were at GIA. He was in a diamonds course when I was in my colored stones course, and we had crossed paths. He comes from a very different background, but after college, after GIA, I started my career at Tiffany on the engagement floor, and that's where I really fell in love with bridal jewelry, engagement rings specifically. Working with bridal clients I thought was so much fun. I wanted to get a little bit more hands-on, and then started working at a large diamond wholesaler here in the Diamond District in New York. At that same time, Kyle, who's my husband, he was working in Africa. He had founded a fair trade diamond mine in Sierra Leone. He went back, so we were long distance for about a year until the Ebola epidemic brought us back together. He came back to New York. He went to business school here at Columbia. And a lot of his friends were at that age that they were like starting to get engaged. They knew he had connections to the industry. So they all were like, hey, do you know a guy that can help get me a good deal on a ring? And since I was working in wholesale at the time, I was like the go-to guy for all his classmates. So I started on the side just, educating them, picking out their diamonds, creating their custom rings. And through that, I decided to launch The Clear Cut as an educational blog about diamonds. This was 2016. Then I started posting some designs on Instagram, and that's where, people beyond our like personal network started reaching out, asking in the DMs if I could make their engagement rings. So it turned into this like accidental side business that was a lot of fun. I was really passionate about it, but I was running back and forth, shipping out rings to the diamond district. It was just like I didn't have enough time to balance that. And at the time I was a full-time gemologist. So when Kyle was graduating business school, he was like, I think there's a white space in the market. There's clearly an opportunity if, strangers are entrusting you with such a big purchase. So we should, give it a shot. So in January of 2018, like we mentioned, we got into Techstars, which is a tech accelerator here in New York. And that's when we like officially launched the Clear Cut full time, first as a bespoke diamond engagement ring business. And now obviously we have like our fine jewelry collection and all of that.
So many questions. First of all, when you said your family was in antique jewelry and in the diamond industry, and it was a quote unquote dying industry, I feel like the industry really has evolved really quickly in the last 10 years. But before that, I felt like, from my understanding on the outside, there was very little innovation for so long. So there's been a big shift recently, especially with, I think, millennial and Gen Z consumers who are interested in understanding more and more about diamonds, where they come from, and care. I think the values have shifted as far as what they are interested in, what they're looking for, and also what they're willing to pay for that. So I'm curious from your perspective and just in general, the Clear Cut customer, right? Like, how are they different from, say, the Tiffany customer or the traditional retail, engagement ring shopper?
Yeah, definitely. And, our industry is still much more backwards than most industries are. But I would say the millennial and Gen Z customer, like the industry had to adapt to it because we grew up, comfortable with the internet, having, information at our fingertips, wanting to be very informed and empowered with like any purchasing decision we were going to make, and really not like settling or overpaying. And I think that's the difference. So, we started as an educational blog, so education has always been at the forefront of our brand and our business. So I think what drew a lot of people towards us was historically, and if you talk to, my dad or like people in the industry at his time, you didn't want to give your client too much information. And that's why the business has this reputation of being quite opaque or like sketchy or like not knowing things, because the power was like held in the secrecy or not having the client like know too much. And I, as a millennial consumer myself, that makes no sense because I want to be super informed and feel very confident whenever I go into making such a big purchase, obviously not only financially, but it's something that you're going to wear hopefully for the rest of your life. So our customer definitely wants to be educated. They want to know every single thing, all the nuances. We say like a lot of our followers, know more than a lot of salespeople at jewelry retail stores. They get like a full education, and they see what they want, and they're not going to settle for something that's just in a glass case in their local jewelry store. Like now with the internet, with social media, you're exposed to all different like cuts, styles. You don't want to settle, and you want to get exactly what you want. You want a custom ring that's made specifically for you. And on top of that, you don't want to overpay for that. So it is this combination of like education, specialization, and value. And that's something that, I don't think previous generations had access to that so quickly. And that's, why there's been a lot of innovation in the industry as of recent in the last decade. I think it's because as millennials are, when I started the business, I was literally selling to my peers, my friends, so I knew exactly what they were searching for, and we like understood the customer.
They're asking the same questions over and over again.
Exactly.
So speaking of education, then like walk us through I'm a first time buyer. I mean, obviously I have my ring now, but I'd love to kind of hear what you think is like the top kind of tips or things people need to consider when they're out, looking for an engagement ring. And it's interesting, I just want to note this, that previous generations, it felt like it was the men that led those conversations. And now more and more women, since we're the number one consumers of all things, right? And I went through this, my own experience of like looking for what I wanted, etc. Like we're driving a lot of the conversation. So I'm curious, like what's your like top tips that you provide to your potential customers, whether it's the women or the men?
Yeah, so I would say most of our clients work together as couples, like if not throughout the whole process, in aspects of the process, because a lot of couples financially contribute together. It's no longer like, oh, in a heterosexual relationship, the man's going to get whatever and you're going to be happy with it. No, like you're going to be the one wearing it forever. He wants to make sure that he's getting exactly what you want. And a lot of people contribute together. So
that's really interesting. Like, has that always been like with your customer base? Or are you seeing that more as a trend?
I'm seeing that more and more as a trend. And of course, like as women have their own careers, have their own money. I think that is going to be more and more prevalent, but I think the decision making is definitely happening as a couple 90% of the time.
One more question on that. Do you find that when the woman is contributing, is it to like upgrade, get something bigger, or is it more of a splurge, or is it more of a general contribution towards the ring? Because I think this is so fascinating. I did not contribute towards my ring, but like I probably would have if I could have gotten something bigger, or I mean, I'm not that I'm complaining. I have 4 parents, so I sound greedy, but like I buy myself jewelry all the time. So
I think, as a couple, you make a decision on like the budget that you want to set for your ring. And I think that's one big tip. It's, I would say, setting a top line budget and then working within there to find what elements you want to prioritize and what elements you're okay compromising on a bit. So whether that's, if you want to go above the set budget and you want to throw in a little bit more, or you're getting like side stones or a specific setting, or you're just contributing equally to that budget. Every couple is different and there's no like right or wrong answer. But that is my number one tip, because it's a slippery slope when it comes to diamonds, and you can always get a bigger or higher color, but I think it's best to set that top line, feel comfortable. There's no 3-month salary rule, whatever the couple feels is best for them and their financial situation. And then within that, we can always find you exactly what you're looking for, but depending on what area we want to prioritize. So that's number one. Number two is, figuring out where you want to purchase your ring, and if I would say work with a trusted expert. So whether you decide to go retail or go in a more concierge experience like the clear cut or whatever, I would work with a trusted expert so you know that in fact what you are buying is what it is, which goes into a second layer: buy a GIA certified diamond. So GIA has the strictest standards in terms of the grading system. There are other gemological labs that go on the same, color clarity scale. However, their standards for what you're getting are a little bit more, they're more lax. So if you think you're buying like an IGI EVS1, at GIA, that same diamond is going to be probably 2 color grades harsher, 2 clarity grades harsher. So I would just invest in a GIA certified, untreated diamond. And whatever you do, go into it like doing a lot of research being knowledgeable, for instance, whether you are going to go with a natural diamond or whether you're going lab grown, just know the value and what it should actually cost and don't get taken advantage of.
So you brought up two things that I want to clarify. One, you said an untreated diamond. What do you mean by that?
So there are color and clarity enhancements that can be done to a natural diamond. So it's like you can go under like high pressure, high temperature to enhance the color. You can laser drill inclusions out, and that will be disclosed on your GIA cert, but that is going to not only decrease the price of the diamond, but also decrease like the inherent value of your stone too. So we don't work with color or clarity enhanced stones for that reason.
So basically you take a diamond that might look a little bit more yellow and it goes through a treatment to make it look brighter. But it doesn't fundamentally change the diamond. It's like an exterior treatment to it, and it could potentially damage the diamond.
It can't damage the diamond, it's just going to take away the inherent value of the stone.
Interesting. Okay. And then the second thing that you said, which I actually saw a debate that showed up on my Instagram feed, which was a reel that you had posted that was getting a lot of heat.
Yes.
And it was around the cost of lab grown versus natural diamonds, and how the price has been fluctuating pretty crazy the last couple years. So talk us through that, because it was literally one of your posts that showed up in my feed organically. That I think it was a couple weeks ago, right? This big debate.
So yeah, I would say, in the past couple of years, the technology for creating lab-grown diamonds has become much more widely available. So there's been a lot more lab-grown diamonds flooding the market. And I think, with any technology, the better you get at it, the less expensive your product's going to be. These are mass-produced diamonds created in a lab. They don't hold like that inherent value where there's like a resale value or an upgrade value or anything like that. So you won't be able to resell your diamond. They're just going to continue producing new lab-grown diamonds. So with lab-grown diamonds flooding the market, the price has been decreasing dramatically. And I think, a year or two ago, even last year, a lot of jewelers took advantage of comparing a lab-grown diamond directly to a natural diamond, saying they were the same thing, but here's a natural diamond that's $30,000 and here's the exact same thing in lab grown that's $10,000. And they were pushing the lab grown because you can make a much higher profit margin because the cost was decreasing so dramatically. However, now, someone, and I think the reel was like, oh, you bought a 2-carat lab grown for $15K last year, and now you can get it for $600. So I think
is it really $600? That seems wild.
Yeah, I did a whole video series following me purchasing a 2-carat GBS2 lab grown for $300 a carat, and now we give away. So basically, the thing is, just don't get taken advantage of. The lab grown diamonds hold a purpose, but they are not the same thing as a natural diamond. A natural diamond is rare. It holds inherent value. There is scarcity with that, and the lab-grown diamond is a great replacement for, simulants like moissanite CZs. They look much better. They're going to be mass-produced. They're here to stay, but it's not a apples-to-apples comparison. So now, I think a really great use of lab-grown is what we've done is we now offer a travel ring. We offer a complimentary 2-carat round brilliant lab-grown diamond with any natural diamond purchase over $20,000 as a travel ring when you don't want to wear your engagement ring.
Wow, that is really cool. I was just with my fiance in Tulum for a little kind of vacation. It's one of our favorite spots that we go. And I find myself with my 4-carat diamond turning it face down. And
I'm surprised you wore it.
I know. I mean, I never take it off, which is actually I get yelled at all the time by my fiance. The places and where I'm the worst when it comes to the tips. I know you're not supposed to work out with it.
Oh no.
Yeah. I mean, believe me, I've broken every single rule. But then he was like, "You can't keep doing that." Like I would do that in the New York subway all the time.
I do it
and
too.
Yeah, and he basically was like, "Take it off. put it in the safe. And so I had it in the safe the entire time in the hotel that, we were on vacation. And then, which I felt naked without it. Once you're wearing your engagement ring or your wedding ring for a couple years, it's so weird not to have it, right? So I think that's really smart and super cool. And I'm actually shocked to hear how cheap those lab diamonds are.
And next year they're going to be even more cheap.
Where did you get them from? Or can you not, do you share on your reel?
Yeah, I share on all the reels. Like, most of them are being mass produced in India and China. So most of the ones that we're getting are coming from labs in India.
Wow. And what are some of the restrictions with the lab grown? Because I thought when they first came out, there was like a limit on how big they could make the diamonds. Not just from a technical perspective. I think they were like, the industry was trying to limit, like, oh, don't make a 4-carat lab grown because they didn't want to disrupt the natural market. What are the kind of the limitations right now?
I don't think there are any limitations. I think that what I've seen is the smaller lab grown are actually less available because they're just so inexpensive. It's almost like not worth it to like polish and cut them. So I'm usually seeing them at least 2 carats, and about you'll see 1 carats, but I think they're so inexpensive now. So I definitely, they have them in 4-carat sizes. They have them in all shapes, all sizes.
Wow, it's wild to see how much like it's evolved because I remember even years ago when lab diamonds or lab made came out, there was such a pushback from the I would say the traditional retailers, and then it flipped the other way where there was like such an acceptance, and you saw all these brands offering kind of a direct to consumer version, a lightweight, kind of cheaper, more cost effective way to purchase kind of their style, right? And now rewind, or fast forward to where we are today, I wonder how those economics are working out for some of those larger retailers because, like you said, the value has diminished dramatically.
I think what happened was, as a gemologist, we learn about synthetics in all other types of gemstones. So, lab-grown emeralds, rubies, sapphires, they've existed for over 100 years, and you've seen what that happened to the colored stone market. Basically now they're so inexpensive that it didn't really affect the natural gemstone market. It's just a completely different product. You're going to get the lab-grown gemstones on QVC. You're not getting them at Graf or Harry Winston or Tiffany. You know what I mean? So I think that's why the industry had like a visceral negative reaction to it at first, because it just goes against like what most people stand for. However, at the end of the day, a lot of people, stand for making money and don't care about like overall brand. So when you could see that it was cheap enough that you could get them and make an 80% profit margin on it and your client would still be very happy, in the short term, that's why, and they're so easily accessible, there aren't like that barriers to like a natural diamond industry. Anyone could have a lab-grown business. Everyone would be happy. It was like a win-win-win until now we're seeing that decline where it's almost showing itself as the different product that it is. And I think long-term that was a mistake for a lot of retailers because you're going to lose the trust of your client in the long term.
That makes a lot of sense. Going back to kind of your training as a gemologist and now working every day with couples picking out their dream rings, how do you advise people on prioritizing the color, the clarity, and all of that? And what do you personally think is the most important for, a ring or a diamond?
We always say it really depends on not only the shape of the diamond, but the specific diamond itself. So, for instance, if you're looking at an emerald cut, that has step cut facets, so, it really does show inclusions a lot more than some other brilliant cut stones. So for an emerald cut, I would probably prioritize clarity over color, and they usually mask color a bit better. But it's the inverse for instance, an oval, where you can get away with, maybe an eye clean SI1, but the color is going to show a little bit more. So it really depends shape to shape, and also diamond specific like diamond to diamond. So what I would say as like a general rule of thumb is you usually, I would say, most people want to prioritize size as number one.
Always.
And then, or that's most commonly.
Bigger is better.
We most commonly see size being prioritized, and within that, what shape you're looking for, and then the guidelines around, okay, you don't want to go too low that it's visibly obvious, but you don't want to overpay for a specific grade just because that's what it says on the certificate too. So it's all a delicate balance of finding like that perfect combination for your budget and the shape you're looking for.
So you mentioned inclusions. Can you just explain what that is? And like, does an inclusion lower the value, right? And how is that relating to the GI rating or the GIA rating?
Yeah, so there are 4 C's, which are like the main characteristics of a diamond that determine its like value. Clarity is one C, and that refers to like the inclusions of the diamonds. So the inclusions are basically like materials and whatnot that get caught in the diamond during formation. Like there's so many different types of inclusions. There's like crystal inclusions. There can be like cavities in the stone. There can be chips, feathers. So basically,
feathers?
Yeah, not like actual like bird feathers, but they're called feathers. So like these white inclusions. The clarity is graded by like the number of the inclusions, the intensity, and the position. No 2 diamonds, even with the same clarity grade, will have the same set of inclusions. It's kind of like the diamond's fingerprint. Like anything, because each one is unique, it's more of like an art than an exact science. But we work with our clients to make sure, first and foremost, that the inclusions are not visible to the naked eye. So if you're looking at the diamond, you don't want to see any like crystal specks in it or anything. If it's under 10x magnification or a microscope, that's a different thing. So if it is eye clean, so that means you can't see it with the naked eye, you have to see it under magnification. Another thing is you don't want the inclusions to affect the integrity of the diamond, so making the diamond like unstable or being more prone to chips or getting worse over time. So those are just things that you want to look out for. The next C is color, which refers to, basically how white the diamond material is. It starts at D, it goes all the way down to Z, and it's like incremental, the difference from letter to letter. Visually, you can't really see a huge difference unless they're about 2 color grades apart, but you don't want the diamond to face up with any warmth if you are looking for a white diamond. Cut.
And when do you get into the warm zone? What letter are you starting to get warm? Traditionally, because I know different diamonds are different, right?
Yeah, like antique diamonds, you can go a lot lower. Different diamonds hold color better, but traditionally, after near colorless, it starts getting into the faint space where you can usually start seeing a bit of warmth. So that's like usually K color and below in modern stones. Then there's cut, and one thing people don't know is that there's only an actual cut grade for a round brilliant diamond. They have like very specific standardizations. There's not a lot of subjectivity when it comes to a round brilliant. All other shapes that aren't round brilliants are considered fancy shapes, and they don't have a cut grade. They do have polish and symmetry grades, but it's a little bit more subjective. And then carat, obviously, that is how much the diamond weighs. Most people associate with carat with how big the diamond looks, but it's really going to be about where the diamond holds its carat weight. Some diamonds, are the same carat weight and can look and present themselves very differently in terms of size depending on where the weight's being held.
Yeah, I think when we had Nicole from Ring Concierge, she did my ring, she spoke about like the spread and like one of the tips that she had recommended, which I'm sure you see too, is like going, when people want bigger, right, going for a spreadier diamond so the weight is like more distributed, versus like some people might have a 3 carat and when the weight is like, down below, not in the, what do you call it when it's not in the face? It's in the
in the pavilion. Yeah, it's a delicate balance. Like everyone wants a spready stone, which is when the diamond holds most of the carat weight at the top, so you get those big dimensions, and that leads to it being a bit shallower. You don't want the diamond to be too shallow where you lose the brilliance and the light, and it can look a little bit glass. Yeah, it can look a little glassy if it's too shallow. So it's a delicate balance between not being too shallow but not holding too much weight at the bottom where you lose the carat weight in the look.
For sure. When you're working, by the way, this is like the best 101 engagement ring buying. Like, I feel like you're giving us like the full education, the clear cut 101. I'd love to kind of hear about what you're seeing when you're talking with customers, right? As far as like trends and the asks, because over the last couple of years, we've seen, the engagement ring trends kind of evolve. Primarily when I first started Loverly, which was over 10 years ago, I can't believe I'm even saying this, but like it was the round brilliant with the halo. Yeah. That was like it. Everyone add a halo to everything, right? Mm-hmm. Halo, halo, halo. And then I think it was Blake Lively's oval engagement ring was she rose gold? I think it was rose gold.
She was rose gold with a triple pave band.
Yeah. And then that became the ring I feel like everyone wanted and was talking about, and ovals really had a moment. And I think ovals have stayed. Like, I think that's what put ovals on the map, and they're kind of, and then, the next kind of wave that I started to see happen was more of these kind of vintage stones, like a bunch of old miners having a moment. That's what I got. I was on trend 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. But, since then, I don't know. What is the latest? Is there a new trend that you're seeing, or how are people, what are people asking for?
Yeah, so I would say exactly to your point, I think ovals now have established themselves as like the new classic because they've become like they've surpassed the trend. The past couple years have been all about the oval on a yellow gold band, and hidden halos have replaced regular halos, which I think is here to stay for a while. Basically, just pave diamonds underneath the stone. So it doesn't like change the look of the ring, but you get a little sparkle from the side. I think, Emily Ratajkowski's engagement ring did spark a big trend for the trois mois style, the two-stone rings. Those were very popular and still are.
Megan Fox had one too.
Yes, mm-hmm. With the emerald.
She's now no longer engaged, I think.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
And I haven't been keeping up.
Yeah.
But so that was another trend that we saw, and I think at least for us, because we specialize in antique diamonds like old euros and old mine cuts, I think those are here to stay because of how special each one is. Unique. No two are the same, and there's an element of being unique and timeless that is just so special to the antique cuts because they've been around for hundreds of years and they're still each one of a kind. So I think that is that's something that people are really gravitate towards because no one wants to have like the exact same ring as all their friends. So that's a way to do it. Elongated stones in general we've seen have been at the forefront. I would say emerald cuts this year have been very popular. Even last year, elongated cushion cuts. So not a traditional cushion cut that's squarish with rounded corners, but a more rectangular cushion with rounded corners. And we do a lot of antique elongated cushions. So I would say, people love an elongated shape because it kind of accentuates the size of the diamond, and it also is very finger flattering. So that's kind of what we've been seeing. And this year we've been doing a lot of bezel setting and slightly thicker gold settings, which for a few years, very thin, like dainty settings were very popular. They still are because they make your diamond, really pop. But we've been seeing more with at least some of our Gen Z customers and younger, just like thicker gold, heavy,
lower set.
Something like almost like less traditional bridal looking engagement rings we've been doing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, you're going to have to send us a couple images that we can link in the show notes so people can get a sense, because I've also seen bezel not just in engagement rings but in kind of just overall fashion jewelry really take off. I mean, I'm eyeing a couple that I want as like, my right hand rings because I feel like it does, they're a little more masculine in my opinion. I mean, that's just how I would describe them. But I also think they're more subtle, right? And they kind of have like a groundedness to them, like feels like more understated. So I'm not surprised to hear that. So when someone's coming in to buy a ring, right? Or not buy a ring, because they're usually probably having a conversation about what they're interested in. How soon before they actually are going to purchase it do they start the conversation with you or someone like you?
So our process is a little bit unique to a typical retail experience. We always start with an initial phone consultation with one of our gemologists, and this is where we can kind of gauge. You can have a consultation at any point, but trying to gauge where in the process you are, understanding your preferences, budget, answering any questions you might have. Whenever you are ready to start the process, we always start virtually and then have the option to transition to in person. So we built our own proprietary software. It's our gem portal. So everyone gets set up in our portal. You have a direct line of communication to your gemologist. You see all your preferences. And then we handpick a selection of loose diamonds that we inspect in person specifically for you. You get to view them in your portal ahead of time, give us feedback. We work together to narrow them down. And then you usually, if you want to come in person to make your selection, see everything, you can do that. And then we create a custom ring for the diamond you choose. So I would say from start to finish, when we start curating your selection for you to ring in hand, on average, it's about 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh, that's actually pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
And where are you manufacturing the actual rings?
Every single one of our pieces is custom made here in New York City. Even our collection, everything's made to order here in New York City. It's really important for us to have everything made locally.
Amazing. And because of the nature of your business being so public on social, right, between TikTok and Instagram, I imagine you get inquiries from all over the world. Mm-hmm. How do you manage those international customers? Are they like just wiring you money and you're shipping it to them? They never see the ring? Like, what's that process?
I would say about, over 85% of our customers, international or in the US, do the process completely virtually. That's kind of how we originated and how we are built. And, we had the opportunity to build it very unscalably at the beginning. So we were able to create and build our own proprietary software portal. We have an inventory management system, diamond management. So we work amazing virtually, and we happen to have an in-person experience here in New York as well. But yeah, most of our clients are not here. They're all over the place, and we're able to offer them a really hands-on, expert-driven experience without needing to physically be here.
So are you shipping rings without people seeing them? And they're getting it in the mail?
85% of the time.
Wow. So just
Yes.
FedEx, here it is. I imagine
Yes.
maybe
it is FedEx, but it's fully insured.
That blows my mind. But it makes sense, right? They're doing everything online, so it gets shipped out. Well, I want to switch gears because you obviously have gone through the wedding planning process. Your husband is your business partner. Mm-hmm. So I want to, because this is the Loverly Wedding Podcast, I'd love to hear about your own wedding planning experience, where the details of your wedding, but also, maybe back us up to, you said you met your husband in school, mm-hmm. right? How long did it take? Give us the story leading up to the proposal and designing your own ring.
Yeah, so we met in 2013 at GIA. I actually followed him home on the subway one day after school because he would not approach me, which I was not gonna have it. And I was I already did the diamonds course. I'm really good at it. I can help give you some pointers. So that's how we started hanging out. We started dating soon after that, which I thought was crazy because he lived in Africa and I lived here. But then obviously he came back. He was visiting me on a trip, and the Ebola epidemic happened at that time, and he couldn't go back. So he just visited me and never moved out of my apartment. So that was 2014. And then, we just were living together. He was going to business school. I was working. And then in 2018 is when we started doing the clear cut, which I thought was like the biggest commitment, honestly, because at that time we were just, boyfriend, girlfriend. We were not engaged. So we decided to start the business like as just like an unengaged couple. And I said I would never go into business with like my partner because my parents were in business together and that did not work out well. They are no longer together. So I was like, I'm not doing that. But, he's very convincing and he does have a lot of skills that I don't have. He is good in finance and like operations and all of that kind of boring stuff. And I handle a totally different part of the business. So we don't like really step on each other's toes a lot. And it's nice. It's actually very romantic building something together because we have like the same goals in mind. We, have the same vision. We like are there for each other because being a founder can be really lonely, and having someone there to support you along the way is, super helpful. So it was like literally 6 years in, I think, because it was like 2013 to 5 years when we started the business. And then I was kind of like, okay, we have an engagement ring business and like we're not engaged. So like, what is going on? Like, are you like, what are your intentions, And he was like, well, we just started a company together. We're poor. I can't like get you the ring that you want. And I was like, fair. That's true. But it was at the point where we would be like doing anything. We were like on a hike. I was like, isn't this an amazing place for you to propose to me? Or we would be like at a restaurant and be like, oh, isn't it? And he's like, no, like this makes no sense. Why would I do that? So I kind of put it out of my mind. Right after Techstars, we got like this letter that we were chosen to we were like getting recruited for this like reality show in LA, and we were like, oh cool, like a business reality show. And I was like, that would be awesome if you like proposed to me when we were filming. He was like, oh, I would never do that or commercialize our engagement. So I was like, okay, whatever, because I was just saying he should propose to me whenever.
You were just trying to make it happen. You were trying to push opportunities.
I was trying to make it happen. Mm-hmm. But I guess that gave him like a green light. The ring that I have, I actually did not design myself. This was a ring that was part of my mom's antique jewelry inventory. I saw it when I was 8 years old, and I told her I was in love with it and I wanted it to be my engagement ring. And she was like, no, your husband has to buy you your engagement ring. So I kind of forgot about it. But
8 years old. 8 years old, you knew it was yours.
I mean, I like probably just saw that it was like big and shiny, and I like didn't think anything else. I was just like, oh.
Now looking back, did you have great taste at 8 years old?
I was like, wow, I was very sophisticated. Like I had better taste then than I do now. But that was kind of a relief. But he went to my mom to ask for permission if he could propose to me, and she was like, oh, don't worry, I got you. I've been saving this ring. So he got very lucky. He proposed to me while we were like filming this show. I was super shocked. The show never aired, so no one ever got to see our engagement, but I was engaged.
Do you have it?
Have
Do you
what?
have the video? The
No.
footage? They never sent it to you?
No. But we weren't allowed to say what happened during filming, so I was engaged in secret for 10 months. So no one knew I was engaged. I kept the ring in a safe. We pretended we weren't, and then I was like, we were supposed to be like the season finale of the show or whatever, and then we got a call that the season was getting cut short, we weren't on it, and I was like, oh shit, like, I don't know if I can curse. We're getting married in June in Italy, and I haven't told anyone it was April. So we scrambled, and I was just like, hey everyone, we're getting married in 2 months in Italy, hope you can come, and like, that was it.
Wow. Wait, this is, okay, I have so many questions. One, so you didn't get the footage. That's a bummer.
No.
I feel like you need to like dig that up and request that from the production company. Mm-hmm. 2, how did you plan a wedding in Italy and give your guests 2 months notice? Like, how many people did you invite? Was it a lot of people?
No, our wedding was about 90 people. So it wasn't like a small amount of people. I thought there would be a lot more drop off, but I guess everyone was like happy to go to Italy. I told like my closest friends, like my bridesmaids, I was like, you need to be available, but everyone else, like, we didn't tell. We like we didn't even have time for invitations. We sent a paperless post to everyone being like, join us in Tuscany in 2 months, you know.
Amazing. And
but I
what
was
about
planning
your dress?
everything in secret. In secret. I got a wedding planner. My husband, he grew up every summer going to the same farm in this small town in Tuscany. So we had vacation there every summer with his family. Like the whole town like knows each other, and they had like family friends from there that had this like 700-year-old villa that they were like, you could get married here for free, which was so nice. So I knew like the first year I started dating him, I was like, we're getting married here. Like I had planned the whole wedding in my head from like that first moment. So the second we got engaged, I called, I booked it. I was like, this is where we're getting married. But it was my dress I was so excited for. That was like the first thing I did. I like was just like, I want to try on every single thing. It was extremely stressful because what I thought I wanted in my head didn't actually translate to looking good on me. So it took a few tries. I went to like a few boutiques, but I picked a dress that like both my mom and my dad liked, which was like, if they both like it, it's the one, because they don't agree on much. So that's what, and then I picked my dress and it was perfect. So
you loved it? Will you share where you got it? What was the brand?
I got it from Lovely Bride, and it was a brand, I think it's like a small Australian brand. It was called like Lovers Society or Society Lovers.
Society. Yeah.
And it was one that when I saw on the rack, I hated. I was like, this looks like a doily. And then I tried it on, and it was like this like thick kind of like crochet lace, and it fits so well. I was like, oh my God, this is why you should like try everything on.
Isn't it weird when you're trying on dresses how different they look? Like what you think you want versus how it looks on you, and like how you feel in it is so different. And I could not agree more. Seeing things hanging on the rack, you're like, ugh, that looks like garbage, but you have to trust the people in the bridal salon because they know how it looks on, and they know different body types. So that I'm not surprised to hear that. But yeah, Lover Society's legit, and Lovely Bride has great curation of different brands. How did you do like florals? Like, was there someone local there that was working, or did you not do florals?
So we did. I tried to plan it all myself. I was like, I can definitely do this. It's totally fine. And then I was
I run a company. I can do this.
Yeah, I quickly found out I could not do it, especially like in a different country. So we got. One of Kyle's friends had gotten married in Tuscany the year before, and her wedding looked really pretty. So I was like, can she make an introduction to her wedding planners? And we got set up with them, and I was like, thank you. They like could speak the language, knew all of the vendors, and it was just like so much easier to coordinate, like having someone on the ground there. So they showed me a few different floral designers, and I loved one of them who was available that day. And I really didn't want anything too crazy. It was like I wanted like a rustic kind of Italian vibe, and I didn't see any florals until the day of my wedding. I didn't see anything until the day of my wedding, so I had to trust the process.
And when you showed up, were you happy with the result?
Yes, I was very, very happy. So that I got lucky.
Well, it sounds like you had the right people there helping you.
Yeah. I mean, the way they plan weddings in Italy is quite different than they do here. They're way more lax. Like, I feel like in New York, you're like type A, you want everything like down to the detail like months before, and that's just kind of like not what it's like there. But I kind of was just like, you know what, it is what it is at this point, and everything turned out, perfect.
And what about your photography? Where did you find your photographer? Local, or did you fly someone in?
So it was a photographer that was based in Milan, so she drove in, and I really wanted an aesthetic that was more editorial versus like a typical wedding photographer. So I saw some of her photos, and I just really liked the vibe and aesthetic, so she drove in. But a lot of people came like from Milan and like the bigger cities.
We're going to need to get your full wedding album that we can post it, and that way we can put it in the show notes and we can share your wedding details. Was there
One thing I would do with the photographer One thing I would do with the photographer, though, is I didn't have a shot list, and I would definitely plan out a shot list with the photographer ahead of time, because I don't have a family photo of my family with my husband's family all together. We only have like separate family photos, and I wish we had one together.
That was leading into my next question. Was there anything else that you wish that you either redid or like you could do over, or that like looking back you could have changed besides the shot list?
Yeah. I have a whole TikTok series on this. Okay. So I would
Lay it on
definitely,
us.
first and foremost, I would have not worn brand new shoes. Like, I bought these like Stuart Weitzman shoes, and I was like, I'm not gonna wear it until my wedding day. First of all, no one could see them because they were like under my dress, so I just like suffered in silence for hours for no reason, and just changed into comfortable shoes, and no one could tell. So don't wear uncomfy shoes or ones that aren't broken in. Second, we did photos after the ceremony during cocktail hour. I would have probably done a first look and photos before the ceremony, because I missed out on like the entire cocktail hour and like seeing people right after we got married, and I was kind of bummed by that. So I would have definitely like done a first look and gotten that out of the way so I could just like party and enjoy after. I had bridesmaids and I really liked it, but I don't know if I would have had bridesmaids doing it again. A lot of my friends are opting for no bridal party.
Yeah. It's a big trend we're seeing. It's like, it's narrowing down. Like 10 years ago, it was like 15 people, and now it's like one or none. Yeah.
You know, things like change a lot, and like friendships evolve, and you know, I'm still really close with all my bridesmaids, and I really liked it, but I just feel like, I don't know, like a whole bridal party thing is like necessary these days, and I've seen my friends not do it, and like it's been totally fine. We still all get ready together, like and you still feel special, but so that's one thing I might have changed. Also, all the groomsmen, I had my husband handle their attire, and if we had a bridal party, I guess I have to be in charge of that too, because they all showed up in completely different colored gray suits. He just told them, wear a gray suit, and then so the photos just look crazy.
Well, we'll have to analyze that in your wedding album. Okay, last kind of rapid fire questions that I know you're not necessarily in weddings or engagement rings, but I imagine many of your customers, you end up seeing their wedding photos right after the fact. So from your lens, what is a trend that you are seeing for this year that you're excited about?
So I'm seeing a lot of interesting wedding trends. One that I'm really excited about is I think people are using a lot more bold colors in their weddings, like, and mixing of bold colors. So traditionally, I think, you know, it's a lot of like whites, greens, like neutrals, but I've been seeing a lot more like fuchsias and bright blues and like things like very like whimsical mixing of colors or bolder colors. So I'm excited about that. I've also seen like interesting seating arrangements. So instead of having like round tables or like long tables or whatever, seeing like kind of like curved like snaky tables or like circular like that like
horseshoes even.
Yes.
Like those, yeah, I've seen those too.
So just like more like theatrical or like different kinds of like experiences. I think there's going to be a lot of mixing of themes. So instead of just like barnyard or like ballroom or whatever, there's going to be like gothic disco or like, you know, church palm tree, you know, like tropical church or whatever. There's going to be like mixing of like different types of themes, which I think are really cool too.
Okay, what is the one trend that you are excited to say bye-bye to?
I think I'm excited to say bye to the bridal party. Is that wrong?
No. The matchy-matchy or just all types of bridal parties?
Oh, matchy-matchy is over, right? No one does matchy-matchy anymore.
Some people do in different color schemes.
I had like different, like similar types of dresses, but not like the exact same.
Well, Olivia, I I'm so excited that we got to catch up because it's been literally 5 years since I've seen your face. And I am so proud of the business that you've built, and I'm appreciative that you got to spend, this last chunk of time sharing all of your expertise on buying engagement rings, and I appreciate you spending the time with us. So anyone who's listening who wants to follow along and continue to be educated by you, where can they find you online?
You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Clear Cut, and you can shop theclearcut.co.
Amazing. Thanks for the time, Olivia.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode. If you've enjoyed this podcast and want more inspiration and guidance, check out our new and improved wedding planning platform at loverly.com, where we offer free wedding planning tools and advice to get you hitched without a hitch. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Loverly. Happy planning!